Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Barely clear on the backside of the sun, and then the earth is sun hitting the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good afternoon, boys and girls, men and women, and everyone else across the globe. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in the Area Command. We want to welcome everybody here that has joined us tonight. Folks, as we have normally done in the past, we're going to do it again tonight by starting this program with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
America's finest, and they truly are America's finest. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We want to thank them for this wonderful service that they have done for our nation and for the world. We want to thank all our men and women in the military, wherever they might be around the world. God bless them all, and may they all return home to their families after the tours of duty end. This includes our allied armed forces as well, wherever they might be in harm's way. God bless them. Please return them home to their families as their tours of duty end. We thank you for your service. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. The first thing I want to talk about is what happened over in the Atlantic Ocean. We first talked about this last night. This is a lead story, and quite honestly, I would feel like I was damned if I don't talk about this. I've had a lot of people comment and ask questions about it. This was a tragedy in the deep sea, over 2 miles deep on the ocean floor. I'm going to play this audio for you because I do not want a copyright strike, but I'm going to play the audio for you from CBS News. This was a catastrophic implosion. Okay? It was an implosion. Now, yesterday we talked about it being an explosion of grand proportions. Yes, it was an explosion as well, and I am going to go into it and why we're calling it an implosion. It was an implosion and an explosion, and I'm going to go into that right now. Okay, let's play this video for you.
That took tourists down to the shipwreck. CBS Sunday Morning's David Pogue went underwater in that same vessel last year, and he spoke to Stockton Rush, the company's founder, who was on board, and sadly, he is now presumed dead along with 4 others. David joins us now to talk about it once again. Good morning to you, David. When you were here on Tuesday, you raised this possibility. You said it's very likely that there was an implosion, and when you said it, it was so painful to hear. I was so hoping that you were wrong because it seemed so early in the investigation. Sadly, of course, you were right about that. So when you got the news yesterday, what were you thinking? Because now all sorts of questions are coming up.
I mean, I actually thought of the families, and obviously no facts are going to make the pain any less, but there is closure now. I mean, imagine if they had disappeared and we never knew what happened to them. That would be awful. Mm-hmm. And I also have to say, they have the knowledge now that their loved ones died instantaneously. At those pressures, James Cameron and Stockton Rush both said it's like 10 sticks of dynamite going off instantaneously. Mm-hmm. They would not have been aware of anything in this. It just would have been blackness.
But you know, the thing that haunts me about this is that we're hearing now that the Navy actually called the Coast Guard on Sunday and said, we see something or we hear something that could resemble an implosion. We were not told that until yesterday. So we went through this agonizing days of we're hearing sounds, maybe there's a possibility that they're still alive. When many people in the industry, James Cameron has been speaking out about this, knew pretty much very early on that there was no chance of survival. Do you think we were all just given false hope?
It would have been nice for the Navy to let people know. I mean, obviously it was the ROV, the remotely operated undersea vehicle, that found the wreckage. But think of all those planes flying back and forth endlessly, millions of dollars of tax dollars looking for it on the surface. That all could have been skipped. I don't know the internal workings of the Navy, but man, I think I would have told the searchers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, David, it's Vlad. As someone who's been on the Titan, did you come away with some opinions about the structure, the integrity of the submersible? I mean, it does seem that Cameron and others raised some concerns about even the materials used to construct it.
It's interesting now. I mean, the narrative has now turned against Stockton Rush's design, and we should have seen this coming, and what an idiot. But please remember, this was a Princeton-educated aerospace engineer. He'd built and designed his own airplanes. He'd built and designed previous submersibles. This one was designed in conjunction with NASA. It had been to the seafloor 20 times uneventfully. There really is a lot of, Monday morning quarterbacking going on here.
Yeah.
Yes, it looks terrible now. Yes, we see things that were missed, but nobody thought anything at the time.
Hey, David, the ocean is shockingly underexplored. We know very little about areas. We know more about the area around the Titanic than we do than most of the seabed. And we were at the dawn of what seemed like a kind of a golden era of exploration with things like the Titan. What does this tragedy do to that innovation, that progress in the overall industry?
I can imagine there will be a chilling effect on deep sea tourism, for sure. But on the other hand, think about it. People die climbing Mount Everest every year, skydiving, scuba diving. There is a kind of person, and I think Stockton Rush was among them, who thrives on danger, who loves the danger, who gets meaning from the risk of death. And I think they will be back to Mount Everest and to skydiving, and eventually I think they'll be back to deep sea diving.
Well, he may have thrived on danger, but there was an interview with the aunt of the 19-year-old who was on board, who said that her nephew had a lot of trepidation, was really afraid, did not really want to go, but wanted to bond with his father. And I keep thinking about that family who has lost a husband and a son. And when you were there, did you feel it was safe? Did you have concerns? You used the phrase MacGyver at one point when you were talking to Stockton. Did you feel safe when you were on it?
I was emotionally terrified. I didn't sleep the night before. He drives the thing with this game controller. He uses rusty lead pipes from a construction industry as ballast. There were things that seemed sort of unsophisticated. And of course, I brought this up with him, and he said, yeah, that's true, but these are just bells and whistles. The part that keeps you alive, the part we care about, is that carbon fiber cylinder and the titanium end caps that he designed in conjunction with NASA.
Okay, those titanium end caps were the first things that rescuers saw that blew off both ends of the submersible sub, the Titan submarine. Now, I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to play the news conference, at least a good portion of the news conference, so you can hear more what happened. Okay? We know that the submersible blew out. Okay? The tremendous pressures down deep into the ocean were what caused this. And as that reporter from CBS News said, he went down in it. It was a carbon fiber submersible. A carbon fiber submersible, they said, was stronger than steel. Yet this thing imploded from deep within the ocean. Both ends came out. And now the United States Navy and Coast Guard has retrieved 5 pieces of the Titan submarine. They've retrieved 5 pieces of the submarine. But let's go and hear the news conference from yesterday. I'm going to introduce you, or they're going to introduce you to Admiral Mager, M-A-G-E-R.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and over the past few days. This afternoon, Rear Admiral John Mager will be providing an update on the most recent findings from ROV operations in search of the Titan submersible. He will provide a brief statement and provide the opportunity for questions after. Please limit your questions to 1 per outlet. Following the briefing, the Joint Information Center staff and I will be here to help you with any of your further needs. May I now please introduce Rear Admiral John Mager.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families. On behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families. I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time. Additionally, we've been in close contact with the British and French Consuls General to ensure that they are fully apprised and that their concerns are being addressed. The outpouring of support in this highly complex search operation has been robust and immensely appreciated. We are grateful for the rapid mobilization of experts on the undersea search and rescue, and we thank all of the agencies and personnel for their role in the response. We're also incredibly grateful for the full spectrum of international assistance that's been provided. The ROVs will remain on scene and continue to gather information. Again, our most heartfelt condolences go out to the loved ones of the crew. We'll now take questions.
John, what other debris have you found? John, what other debris have you found? Can you talk about the delay in reporting investigation?
This was a incredibly complex case, and we're still working to develop the details for the timeline involved with this casualty and the response. And so we'll provide that.
James Matthews from Sky News. What other debris have you found? And found any trace of those who were on board?
So this is an incredibly complex operating environment on the seafloor, over 2 miles beneath the surface. And so the remote operating vehicle has been searching, and it is highly capable. And we've been able to classify parts of the pressure chamber for the Titan submersible. Let me refer to one of my undersea experts here, Mr. Paul Hankin, to talk about the nature of some of the debris.
Thank you, Admiral. So essentially we found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event. Shortly thereafter, we found a second smaller debris field. Within that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel. We continue to map the debris field, and as the Admiral said, we will do the best we can to fully map out what's down there.
Admiral, was there?
So the questions was related. I'm restating the question from the standpoint of sometimes it's hard to hear the question here. What are the prospects for recovering crew members? And so this is a incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor, and the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Admiral, it's Tom Costello at NBC News. Is there any suggestion at all that the sub itself collided with the wreckage of Titanic, or that instead it might have imploded above the wreckage and then rained down nearby?
So the question was, is there any question as to whether or not the sub collided with the Titanic or whether it imploded above and debris field created from that? So the location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic. I have an expert here that is familiar with that area and can talk about the debris field and what the debris field indicates in terms of where the casualty may have occurred.
Rear Admiral, really quickly, can you tell me when that...
Wait, let's get the expert voice, please. Hang on a second. The expert voice is coming up to answer the question.
Thank you, Admiral. So the question is, where does the wreck lie in relation to the Titanic? I didn't hear the Admiral's answer. I think 1,600 feet. Is that correct, Admiral? Yep. So that's off the bow of Titanic. It's in an area where there is not any debris of Titanic. It is a smooth bottom. To my knowledge and anything I've seen, there's no Titanic wreckage in that area. And again, 200 plus meters from the bow, and consistent with the location of last communication for an implosion in the water column. And the size of the debris field is consistent with that implosion in the water column.
Thanks.
Well, if I can ask you a question, in terms of the timing here, you say that this was a catastrophic implosion. And I know it's early on, but is it your estimation that this happened right at the moment when they lost contact, an hour and 45 minutes after their descent?
So the question was about the timing of the catastrophic implosion. Right now, it is too early to tell with that. We know that as we've been prosecuting this search over the course of the last 72 hours and beyond, that we've had sonar buoys in the water nearly continuously and have not detected any catastrophic events when those sonar buoys have been in the water. So.
Admiral, describe what happens from here, sir, in the next days and weeks in finding any more debris. What happens from here?
So we will, the question was, what happens from here? What's the next phase? And so right now, again, our thoughts are with the families and making sure that they have an understanding as best as we can provide of what happened and begin to find some closure. In terms of the large process, we're going to continue to investigate the site of the debris field. And then I know that there's also a lot of questions about how, why, and when did this happen. And so, those are questions that we will collect as much information as we can on now, while the governments are meeting and discussing, what an investigation of this nature of a casualty might look like. This is something that happened, I'll just remind everybody, this is something that happened in a remote portion of the ocean with people from several different countries around the world And so it is a complex case to work through, but I'm confident that those questions will begin to get answered.
Coast Guard lead the investigation, sir.
The question was there any suggestion that time factors may have played a role or a consideration in the casualty here? And so the debris field is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. Again, while we were prosecuting the search, we had listening devices in the water throughout and did not hear any signs of catastrophic failure from those. And so we're going to continue to investigate, or we're going to continue to document the information there and understand, based on all the information we have, the timeline. So the question was, what are the resources required for the investigation, and which ships will be pulling out and staying in? And so it's too early for me to talk about an investigation. That's a decision that's going to be taken outside of the search and efforts that I was leading. But we do have a number of vessels. We have 9 vessels on the scene right now. We had medical personnel on scene. We had other technicians on scene. And so we will begin to demobilize personnel and vessels from the scene over the course of the next 24 hours. But we're going to continue remote operations on the sea floor. And I don't have a timeline for when we would intend to stop remote operations on the seafloor at this point.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there unless you guys want me to continue and to give you information. I think we've found a lot of information already from what Admiral Mauger said. I am in complete agreement with the Admiral. Ginger Gal says it is very suspicious. I agree, it is suspicious. Again, what a lot of people don't get, okay? What a lot of people don't get, why was that submarine, that submersible, yes, it's called a submarine, why was that submarine allowed to go diving with private individuals on board? It was not the first time. That's why I played that original report to you, is because the man who built the submersible took a reporter down into the depths of the ocean with that submersible. Okay? It wasn't cleared for commercial travel, for commercial occupancy. Yes, he probably had cleared it for testing, but not for commercial occupancy. And yet, the people that he took on this mission had to sign waivers that they knew of the dangers that they were facing if something had gone wrong, which it did. So everybody that was there, including that 19-year-old young man, signed those papers. Yes, he was nervous. I would have been nervous. The reporter that I let you hear from CBS News said he was nervous last year when he took the tour down. I would be very nervous. Okay? Don Patoka, one of our mods here, is in the chat. Says it's because it's in international waters, they can do whatever they want, and that might very well be. Okay? Now, me, and I'm just talking for me, my own experience. I am not a ship investigator. I don't normally investigate shipboard accidents. My time as a police officer was mostly, mostly based on criminal investigation. Yes, I was a certified homicide investigator. I was also a certified accident investigator. Okay? I took several classes to be able to investigate automobile accidents. Then one day, one night, a long time ago, there was a tropical storm that blew into San Diego. It blew so hard that the wind was blowing on the side of this one ship that was in port, docked at a pier, lashed down to a pier. And the wind was blowing so hard on the side of that ship that the wind blew that ship off the moorings, ripped the moorings off the pier, and blew that ship into another ship. The United States Navy, in its own infinite wisdom, called over to the police department. I was the nearest certified accident investigator, and I was the only management type accident investigator that had any kind of management experience investigating accidents, not shipboard accidents. And yet when that wind blew that ship off the pier, yanking the moorings with it, and ramming that one ship into another ship, guess who they called? Moi. And I spent the next several hours investigating a ship versus ship accident. It was simple for me. The wind blew one ship off of a pier where it wrecked into another ship, causing minor damage to both ships. It was very easy for me to put that together. But if it had been out in the open ocean, I'm not qualified to investigate a ship versus ship accident. And I told them that in my report. But since they asked me to write up an incident report on the accident, I did. The people that are there investigating this event on Father's Day, no less, the people that are investigating this incident are probably highly qualified individuals. They've been doing this for a very, very long time. Years and years of experience investigating the implosion of submarines underwater. Again, to address someone that was in the chat here that asked why that submersible imploded where it did. It was nowhere near the Titanic. It was 1,600 feet away from the bow, the front of the Titanic. The pressures at that depth are over 2 miles deep, but the pressures at that depth are incredibly powerful. Water pressure. All that water at that depth, thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure from that water against anything in the water is going to cause some kind of issues. And what I've been telling people literally all day, when I've been fielding phone calls or messages, what I've been telling them is exactly what I'm telling you. the pressures of the water against the carbon fiber outer shell of this submersible were so powerful that the carbon fiber container of the ship was not able to withstand that pressure at that depth. And that's why it imploded. And literally, when that imploded, folks, there was a corresponding action that happened. When it imploded, when the water pressure pushed into that carbon fiber craft, it literally exploded like this. It literally exploded like this. It came apart. Now, like I said, the United States Navy and the Coast Guard have now retrieved 5 pieces of the vessel. I don't know which 5 pieces, and I'm sure in the coming days we will find out more about that. How'd they get it? From those undersea remote operating vehicles, those ROVs that they have sitting there. I shouldn't even say sitting there. They are in the water investigating this event. 5 people lost their lives. That's why we're talking about this. This is an accident. It's a disaster at sea. Yes, Michael McKinney's talking about that's some serious wind, that tropical storm that we had in San Diego. That tropical storms hit San Diego all the time. Okay? That same night, earlier that night, I told this story to you just a short while ago. Not tonight, but within the last week or so. That tropical storm forced small boats, and I'm talking tiny fishing boats, not more than 9 or 10 feet long. The wind and the waves in the San Diego harbor forced those small boats into the concrete barriers of the harbor, the concrete piers, holding up piers that ships dock on, smashing those boats into smithereens. The back of my belt had a great big rope knot tied in it that would not slip. The other end of that rope was tied to the push bumper of our police car. And my partner held on to me. He backed the police car away from me so that rope would be taut so I could lean out over into the harbor area to pull people out of the water. My captain was doing the same thing that night. Bless his heart. We risked our lives to save other people's lives that had been too stupid, and yes, I'm using the word stupid, to even find out what the weather was going to be like, whether there were small craft advisories out, which there were, which told people to stay off the water. And yet these people, in their infinite wisdom, decided, oh, nothing will happen to me. And they lost their boats and almost lost their lives. My captain and I were out, as well as other police officers, literally all over downtown San Diego, trying to help people. The Coast Guard was also out. The harbor police boats were also out. It's insane. Mother Nature has a mind of her own. Yes, we get crazy weather. All the time. All the time. That was back in the 90s, folks. That was back in the 90s. We still get nutsy, weird, wild weather. And yes, Someone asked me yesterday or today, I don't remember, I fielded so many phone calls I've lost track of them all. Someone asked me today, I believe it was this morning, asked me, Ron, what do you think about the weather? Is it really being manipulated? Yes, it is. Yes, it is being manipulated. Now, there's another gentleman that has his own YouTube program years ago that talked about weather manipulation. Now, I've only talked about weather manipulation a little bit. This organization right here, do not put this in the chat. Please don't put this in the chat. But this organization right here is responsible for probably 75% of it. Why am I saying that? Because their Alaskan outpost, when it was first built, was charged with weather study and what electron signals, if electronic signals had any effect in the upper atmosphere, which they found out, yes, they do. So now that organization in and of itself, they have different locations all around this globe of ours, all around the earth. And they light those facilities up. Great big huge antennas. Great big huge antennas strewn up in a huge field. Let me see if I can find a picture of this, because I think everybody ought to know about it. At least that's my opinion, that everybody ought to know about this. I've been studying this for a very long time. A long, long time. And now I can't find pictures of it. Oh, that's weird. I know I've got them. Oh, I know I have them. Let me try it again. No, it says I don't have any pictures. I know I have them someplace. But now, maybe somebody's monitoring me is not letting me find it. But I have pictures of some of those facilities. Just a second. Nope, it's not letting me do it. I tried to do it another way and it's still not letting me show it. But folks, it's happened. I know for a fact that this has happened. This has happened over a number of years that they have been studying weather and studying weather manipulation. You and I have all seen weather manipulation where we live. Okay? They have flown aircraft over our cloud base and have seeded chemicals out of a plane. They've dropped chemicals out of a plane, and usually it's mixed in with the fuel of the aircraft. And they spew it out the back of the aircraft as it's flying over where we live. And it doesn't matter where we are, because aircraft, and I'm talking jet aircraft, have been doing this for a long time. We've seen the contrails out. exceeding our clouds. That's only one form of weather manipulation. They light up those antenna farms around the world. They light those suckers up. And what happens? It sends electrons up into the ionosphere. And they bounce up and down all around the Earth. Different frequencies of radiation, different electronic frequencies of radiation can manipulate weather and different cloud bases. That's how they do it. That's exactly how they do it. That's why a lot of these weather events we've seen happen, even up until last week with tornadoes. We've seen it. And then we have these wild storms, totally out of control, that we've never seen before. They happen. And a lot of people don't understand it. I just talked to you about it. Tried to explain it to you. Heidi Petrick just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you, Heidi. I really appreciate that. God bless you. That's important to me. Thank you so much, Heidi. I want to thank Heidi and everybody else who will contribute to our program tonight in Super Chat or over on PayPal, because at the top of our program description, just under this video, we have 2 PayPal addresses and a Venmo address where you can contribute to our program. And we appreciate that more than you'll know. It really means a lot. Helps us stay on the air, literally. Not a joke. Literally. Anyway, guys, they manipulate the weather. We know that. We have storms right now that are going to hit us in a big way. In a big way. Tropical Storm Brett just came up. It was just an unnamed storm just a couple days ago. Just that little tiny storm there. Just over the Leeward Islands. Okay? Now it's Tropical Storm Brett. And it's growing in strength. That's how big it is when you show it close enough. When you zoom into it. Tropical Storm Brett. Now, a lot of people have also been asking me, Ron, what's going to happen with Tropical Storm Brett? And specifically, people here in North Carolina have asked me, could North Carolina see its first hurricane of the season, even possibly next week? Possibly. But I don't think it's going to go up the eastern seaboard. I believe it's going to continue out into the Caribbean. Let me show you another slide. I believe this storm is going to continue out into the Caribbean Ocean or the Caribbean Sea. Okay? This is a projected storm track. And yes, this is just a computer model. There are many models that are out there. There's like 5 or 6 different computer models. But this is probably the likelihood of where this storm is going to go. Could North Carolina get hit? Yes, it possibly could. Maybe with this one. I just doubt it. What was earlier this week referred to as Tropical Depression 3 is moving across the southern Atlantic and is expected to form into a full-blown tropical storm, which it has, and even potentially a hurricane in the coming days. The storm is currently in the Atlantic near the Lesser Antilles. And its strengthened and has gotten out of the Lesser Antilles and is heading west over South America. Once it's strengthened into a named storm, which it has been referred to as Tropical Storm Brett. The National Hurricane Center does not expect the storm to be a hurricane before it crosses over the Antilles this weekend. The immediate track of the storm is wide and it's unknown, but right now it's over in the Lesser Antilles and headed west over South America. The immediate track of the storm is wide, but we are also being told to prepare for the storm in the coming days. The storm track will become more clear, including whether this storm changes directions and goes up the eastern seaboard, including if North Carolina will see its first hurricane of the season. I just don't think it's going to happen. Okay? I just don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, this is the projection of the storm. Okay? And yes, it's going to grow in strength. It could be a Category 1 hurricane by Sunday. We'll see. We'll definitely see what happens. But I don't think we can take our eye off Tropical Storm Brett. Things happen. Things change. Now, I've also had some questions about types of natural disasters that people here in North Carolina and everyone else along the eastern seaboard might see, might experience. As powerful as mankind is, there will always be one thing more powerful and outside of our control. It's called the weather, Mother Nature, as I referred to it a few minutes ago. Heck, guys, we can't even accurately predict it. Not even. The sheer power of what Mother Nature does is capable of doing anything. And it's actually mind-blowing. From tsunamis to tornadoes to hurricanes to straight-line winds. Sheer winds that drop out of the sky straight down. I've seen those. Some of us may have seen those as well. Linda Covington says spaghetti models. Yes. That's what those models of the storm are called, is spaghetti models. But we can't even predict a simple hurricane, a simple tornado. They come out of nowhere. Thank heavens for Reed Trimmer and his crews going out in storm chasing and trying to follow them and see if there is some kind of predictable pattern with these storms. I don't believe so far anybody's even found a predictable pattern yet. Okay? And I'm thankful to live where I am, because where I'm at, yes, there's a possibility of tornadoes, but where I'm at, the threat of most of these storms, including hurricanes and such, are very remote for me because I live 392 miles inland. I live up in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Okay? So these kind of weather-related events is smaller, in my opinion, in my area than other areas closer to the Atlantic Ocean. But that does not mean that we don't face natural disasters here in North Carolina and along the entire eastern seaboard. At least we don't live in Tornado Alley. We don't live in Tornado Alley. Tornado Alley used to be referred to as North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Yes, that's where a lot of tornadoes spin out. But we can add Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and everywhere else. Tornadoes can appear out of nowhere. Okay? I don't live in Tornado Alley. A lot of other places are directly in front of Tornado Alley, literally. As the weather modification begins and continues, anywhere could be considered Tornado Alley now. Honestly. Okay? The most kinds of storms that most of us are going to see, one is flooding. Flooding from the heavy rains that we've seen. And all of us have seen those heavy rains. I don't think there's anybody that hasn't. Tornadoes. Tornadoes. Whenever I see tornadoes, I get telephone calls or messages asking me if somebody's in danger. If those people that are messaging me are in danger. And yes, I would like to say that they're not. I have a dear friend of mine over at several, I don't have just one, I have many dear friends in Texas. And almost without fail, 2 or 3 of them every week call me or message me, Ron, what's going on? I've heard there's a possibility for a tornado. Oh yeah, there is. What are the chances? 67%? 60 to 70%? Yeah, true. Okay? It's only in your particular area though, where those storm tracks fall. And yes, we're trying to watch them. I'm trying to watch them. I'm an emergency manager. Most emergency managers are up till the wee hours of the morning watching these things, trying to put some heads or tails about them so that we can better understand how to protect our communities. Okay? Then we have these storms like Brett, tropical storms and hurricanes. We have those spaghetti models that are spit out by the computers from the National Weather Service and different other people that have been following these kinds of storms. The models are very predictable, but there's only one storm track that will win out. And until we have an actual idea of where that storm actually is, will we truly know where that storm is going to go? Which model is going to be correct? Okay? Even until 2 or 3, maybe 4 days at the very most, are we going to truly know where these storms go? Okay? Right now, like I said, we believe that Tropical Storm Brett will stay in a western path over the northern end of South America and will head out into the Caribbean, and it may come over and haunt Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula. But if any of you know what I'm talking about with the Yucatan Peninsula, the storm could slide into Central America and do one of these numbers and go back out into the Gulf of Mexico and bounce in to Texas, bounce in to Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, or into Florida. We saw that last year with several hurricanes. They came into Central America, and then as they continued to spin, they spun themselves back out into the sea, into the Gulf, and spun in to Texas and Florida even. So we can't even tell you where a hurricane's going to hit. We have a good idea, but until the models are up and we know exactly what's going on, that one that hit several of them hit in Central America and spun back out into the Gulf. And until it happens, we don't know. Several of those hurricanes spun out over Central America and went out into the Pacific and gained strength again. As they passed over land in Central America, they lost strength, and when they got out into the Pacific, the warm waters of the Pacific there, they gained all sorts of strength and spun up into the Pacific, up into Mexico, and up into San Diego as a tropical storm. James Barrick just gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you, James. God bless you. Really appreciate that. But this is what happens, guys. We don't know. We watch. And as we gain information, we try to put it out to all of you. That's the best any of us can do. Now, in addition to these storms, we've seen droughts and heat waves hit us all over the world. Droughts and heat waves over into England. Let Demon Cat talk about that. He's seen it. Other people up in Spain, up into France and parts of Europe, and even Scandinavia have seen these droughts and heat waves. There was a Postal Service worker in Texas trying to deliver mail. He was overcome by 118-degree heat this past week, had a heart attack and died, overcome by heat exhaustion. 118-degree heat. The Weather Service said it was 107 degrees, but as that heat radiates off the pavement, the sidewalks, and other places, the heat index is rated up because of heat exposure. That Postal Service worker that was delivering mail was overcome by 118-degree temperatures. Can we tell when we're going to have another drought? No. Sometimes experienced meteorologists can tell us we may come into a drought. We may. They don't know either. They're trying to look at predictable wind patterns and storm patterns. These droughts and heavy-duty winds that pick up that heat and move it, and those heat waves can be dangerous, very dangerous, and even life-threatening. They can also pose issues with food supplies as well. We've seen that. We've spoken about it on this channel over the years. And then together with droughts and heat waves, what else happens? Wildland fires. What is still happening up in Canada? Some of it is also now happening here in the United States, in South Africa, in South America, and in Europe. Wildfires. Droughts and heat waves can make risk of wildfires even more significant. The brush, the greenery that's out there, turns into tinder because of the heat. The heat wilts those leaves, it dries out those stems and branches, and all of a sudden, all we have to have is even a small spark. And all of a sudden, we have a wildfire in the making. Okay? And with all that happening, the higher the likelihood it's going to be that something's going to catch fire and spread really quickly. Very quickly with the winds. The other day we talked about the Santa Ana winds coming in off the desert in California. Bad, really bad. Parts of San Diego, North County, were evacuated because of these Santa Ana, what they call devil winds. Parts of Southern California over into the Laguna Mountains near Los Angeles were evacuated because of wildland fires in and around Los Angeles in the past years. Luckily here in North Carolina, because we have such high humidity, we don't get that many wildfires. Yes, they do happen. But luckily enough, this area of the country here in the U.S. is less likely to have wildland fires. Usually they happen out into the desert areas, in the higher elevations in the mountains. Okay? California deals with these every year. Washington and Oregon in the past few years has been crazy. Crazy, insane. Those of you, my friends, who live in Oregon and Washington have told me what has happened. And I'm very grateful that you shared that information with me so I can put it on the air. Because we want to know about it, so we can tell people about it. Richard Smith is here, says, I will have to see when Nova Scotia really heats up. Oh yeah. Those winds coming through Canada that are pushing that fire around Nova Scotia, it's bad. It's bad. And all that smoke came down here. I stayed in my house with air conditioning and air purifiers going in the upstairs and the downstairs. Okay? I have 3 air purifiers in my upstairs in my house. One in my office here, in my studio, one in my bedroom across the way, and one in the hallway here. One in the hallway around the stairs, so it pulls all that toxic air and purifies it and put it back out. I have 2 air purifiers operating in my living room downstairs. Air purifiers help. Okay? Lama's Light says, yes, here in Western North Carolina, I have mushrooms growing in my yard. Oh yeah. And that's awesome. Mushrooms growing in her yard. If you guys have been with me any length of time, you know we have a friend named Barry Prince up in British Columbia, Canada. He's a internet radio personality, and he goes out in various time periods, in May, for example, and goes out in the bush there in British Columbia and harvests a ton of mushrooms and sells them. He returns to his home in Terrace, British Columbia, and turns around and sells those mushrooms. It's great. Richard Smith says, I'm sorry for smoking so much, Ron. Richard, I love you, brother. It's not you that's smoking. I just wish it never happened for you guys. Arson fires. People starting arson fires. It's sad. Every one of those wildfires was started by some dipstick. Yeah, some dipstick. Sad but true. Sad but true. Now, folks, I have some other things I want to discuss with you. I'm first going to go over here and show you a map. I'm sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. Actually, it's the right thing. I love my flag. I love the flag of the United States of America. I love your Canadian flag. I love your British flags. I love your Central American flags. Every country has a flag. I love them. I really do. My Japanese friends, I love their flags as well. Unfortunately, I don't have too many Russian friends. I've had friends from Romania. I love their flags. It's a beautiful flag. And several other friends from all over Europe. I love your countries. I love your countries. But I also love my flag. Anyway, folks, I want to talk to you about some large earthquakes today. Large earthquakes that happened in your neck of the woods. Okay? Let's go over here to Tonga, down here in the South Pacific. This was a large 5.0 magnitude earthquake that hit this afternoon, just after 3:06 p.m. this afternoon. South of there, down here in the uninhabited Kermadec Islands, we got another 5.0 earthquake. My word, guys, guess what? This happened after 3:26 a.m. this morning. Well, golly Shazam! Unreal. USGS is not even saying anything about the earthquakes down in New Zealand. Nothing. Over here in Indonesia, we've got a ton more earthquakes than this, but they're not showing them to us. People at USGS think we're stupid. We have a 4.6 moderate earthquake over here near Dampit, D-A-M-P-I-T, Indonesia. 74 kilometers deep. That earthquake in Tonga and the earthquake in the Kermadec Islands, guess what? Very shallow earthquakes. Over here off the northern coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, this was a 4.8 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Sumatra. That's the key word. Off the coast of Sumatra. Even though it was a 4.8, which could cause some minor damage, plates rattling together, possibly breaking, shaking, falling out of cupboards, off of shelves, knickknacks falling, pictures falling off of walls. This one is off the coast of Sumatra, a 4.8 earthquake. Over here in China, we don't often get told about Chinese earthquakes. This was a moderate 4.6, everybody. 7.8 miles deep. Guess what, guys? This is over here in the Volcano Island region of Japan. the volcano island region in Japan. Nobody lives here either. Okay? We're going to get these earthquakes along earthquake faults. And you can see this is where an earthquake fault is. There are 7 different fault zones, 7 different plates, one subducting under another, all over this region of the Pacific. That's why we're getting these earthquakes here. That's why we're getting the earthquakes. Okay? Then, I want to take you up here. What happened up here north of Hokkaido, Japan? Okay? This, folks, was another 5.6, just like Tonga had. The Tongan earthquake was out in the ocean. It didn't do anything to Tonga. The ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of that quake. The same thing here. This is north of Hokkaido, Japan, closer to Russia. Okay? Closer to Russia. This is also 5.6 earthquake. It's also 200 miles deep. 197 miles deep, down in the asthenosphere where the plastic magma is. Okay? Nothing off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia Peninsula here, but over here, okay, this is over in what they call Eastern Rat Islands. This is a 1.8 tremor 60 miles west of Aveyah, Alaska. Just a tremor. Why are we seeing tremors here? Because it's not the only one. This is a volcano here. Look at all these tremors. This has nothing to do with plate tectonics. This is magma under this volcano. Okay? That was a 1.8. This is a 1.0. This is also 1.1. All these tremors belonging to that volcano. That's why that hit. Okay? From a distance, you don't see much of anything, do you? Oh no. Not much. This event right here was a surface quake at another volcano. This time 25 miles east northeast, and it's not. It's west northwest of Aveyah, 25 miles west northwest of Aveyah, Alaska. USGS still can't tell directions here, can they? This is out here. And then they're calling east. They have no clue. No clue. This earthquake here is a 3.1. A small earthquake. 45 miles southeast of Aveyah. This time they got their directions correct. Woohoo! Over here in the Aleutian Islands leading up into the peninsula of Alaska, we've got our first 2.2 earthquake of the day here. Okay? Literally right next to it, northwest of there, is a 1.3. This time it's 22 miles west-northwest of Dutch Harbor, Alaska. They've got that one right. We have an earthquake over here in the Gulf of Alaska here. This is also a 2.9, 3.0 near Chignik, Alaska. It's out in the Gulf of Alaska, 143 miles east-southeast of Chignik, Alaska. Woohoo! They may have that right. This earthquake that just hit, I've highlighted it here. Okay? This is a 2.8 earthquake. a 2.8 earthquake. Woohoo! Across the Cook Strait here, we have all kinds of tremors here, don't we? Why do we have these tremors here? It's a swarm of tremors, guys. Why are we having them here? This is Old Ililama volcano here. Old Ililama volcano is steaming. And it looks like, if you look at the seismogram, it looks as if this volcano may try to erupt. And yes, guess what? It's on a yellow advisory the last time I checked. Okay? Then we go further north. I just love this. This is near Skretna, Alaska. This is a 2.1 earthquake. Guess what's here? Can anybody tell me what's here? Mount Redoubt volcano. And it's rumbling too. South of Redoubt here is a 2.0 near Tyonek, Alaska. Tyonek. Tyonek, Alaska. A 2.0. North of Anchorage, northwest of Anchorage, we have a 3.9. A 3.9, excuse me, not 3.9, a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. 2.9, 3.0 magnitude earthquake. Okay? South-southeast of Big Lake, Alaska. USGS still has its coordinates wrong. Crazy. Then up here north of there, this is what they call a 3.0. 25 miles west-northwest of Chase, Alaska. They got the directions wrong there too. Up here in central Alaska, guys, right up here. They call this northern Alaska. No, this is central Alaska. This is a 1.1. This is a 1.3 near Hughes, Alaska. Again, central Alaska. North Alaska is way up here. So again, USGS can't even tell us what's correct or not. It wasn't northern Alaska, it was central Alaska. Okay? It's crazy. No, it's a little bit insane. That's what it is. Going down here into the Cascadia region. Okay? Near the Puget Sound. This is a 1.4 tremor here in the Puget Sound area, 4 miles south of Yashin, Washington. Interesting. Interesting to say the least. Northeast of here is a 1.0 tremor. Southeast from there is Antioch, Washington. A 0.7 microquake. Fascinating. Okay? Just northwest of Mount St. Helens, we have a 0.6 microquake. If you believe anything I've shown you, you should know that if we looked at the seismogram from Mount St. Helens, we would see plenty of tremors and earthquakes, because that's what's actually happening. But they will never admit that. They don't show any earthquakes at all at St. Helens. They don't show any at all at Mount Adams over here. They don't show any at all at Mount Rainier. Why not? Because they don't want anybody to know about them. Kristen Cashel is here. Thank you for being here. She wanted to say hi. Hope you all are well. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, Kristen. Appreciate that. Okay? Now, they're also not saying anything about Mount Hood. Interesting. Not anything. Not anything. I'm going down here to the southern area, the southern region of the Cascadia Fault. Excuse me. That's weird. I haven't eaten in hours and I'm burping. That's crazy, or hiccuping. Okay? Earlier today, we had a 2.7 magnitude earthquake over here on the San Andreas Fault, just east of the Triple Junction on the San Andreas Fault. 2.7 minor earthquake up here on the San Andreas Fault. Interesting, because it is in the Cascadia region still. Further north, Ferndale, California, 1.9, 2.0. Earthquake. Further north here is Fortuna, California. Both of these locations had damage from an 8.0 earthquake that hit offshore here several months ago. This time in Fortuna, 1.5 tremor. It's an aftershock of that 8.0. Ferndale with a 1.9, 2.0. Fascinating. Further northwest up here, this is Humboldt Hill. Humboldt Hill, California, a 1.18 tremor. Humboldt Hill also suffered some minor damage as a result of the 8.0 earthquake that USGS tried to downgrade to a 6.8. Okay? Tried to downgrade. After it hit, we showed you that it was a lot larger than they said it was. Of course it was. Of course it was. San Francisco area, just southeast of San Francisco Bay. Fremont, California, on the Hayward Fault, got hit. A 1.3 tremor today. South of there on the Hayward is Alum Rock, another 1.0 tremor here. South along the coast is Point Sur, a 1.3 tremor here today and a 1.5 tremor here yesterday. It's near the Oceana Fault along the coast of Northern California. Further south over here on the San Andreas, we have the Pinnacles. This is a 2.8 minor earthquake. Now, I'm going to show you this because it matters. Two earthquakes side by side here on the San Andreas Fault. Parkfield, California, 1.0 and a 1.1. Parkfield, California is earthquake capital of California. More earthquakes there every year than anywhere else in the United States. Literally. Literally. Southern California, guess what? You're still getting hit. Los Angeles. President Nixon's old birthplace got hit again. The second time in 2 days. A 0.9 microquake. You're Belinda, California. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I'm not a crook. You're Belinda getting hit with a 0.9 microquake again. And a brand new quake. This is the second quake of the day in Home Gardens, California. They say this is a quarry blast. A quarry blast in the hills south of a residential area. Yes, there's a quarry about a mile to the west. About a mile and a half northwest of this quarry blast is a residential area. They say this is a quarter of a mile deep. That's interesting. Are they going to continue blasting in an area near a bunch of houses? I doubt it. I doubt it. Further south here, okay, this is closer to the quarry. This is a 1.5 magnitude tremor. Closer to the quarry here, isn't it? But folks, this is over a mile deep. This also was not a quarry blast. They are not blasting a mile and a half deep into the mountains here. This was an earthquake, a 1.5 tremor here. Regardless of what they say, they are dead wrong. Dead wrong, and I can prove it. Okay? Southern California is getting hit. Okay? They are. Way out east here. Beaumont, California is 0.9. These earthquakes and tremors out here are part of what they call the Anza Gap. Okay? The Anza Gap is 0.9 microquake. This is a 1.6 in Banning. 1.6 tremor in Banning, California. This is in Cabazon at 0.8. Again, this whole area here south is part of the Anza Gap. Over here, this earthquake in Idlewild is also part of the Anza Gap. But folks, this is part of the San Jacinto Fault. The San Jacinto Fault system. Just south of there, this is a 0.4 microquake. To the west of there, this is also 0.6 here. Further west and south, this is Palomar Observatory. Palomar Observatory. This is the telescope, the Hale Telescope, on top of Palomar Mountain in northeast San Diego County. It's right next to the Elsinore Fault. Just southeast from there is also near Palomar Observatory. This time it says it's 7 miles east-northeast of Palomar. No, it's not. It's southeast of Palomar. Unreal. Further east here, this is also Anza Borrego Desert, northeast San Diego County. This is a 1.1 tremor. This is a 0.4 in Borrego Springs, also part of the Anza Borrego Desert State Park here. Further south, this is a 1.1 also in Borrego still. But guess, this is a San Jacinto Fault. The San Jacinto Fault. Further south, it's not letting me identify this. That's because they seized my map. Now, for what I'm going to show you, I need this map back. So I'm going to take it back from USGS now. They've seized my map. I know how to overcome their map seizure. And we got it back. We got it back. How about that? We recovered the map. So San Diego County is also getting hit. Okay? This was Palomar Observatory. Okay? This is Julian, California. Apple capital of San Diego. Over in the mountains, just west of the Chocolate Mountains. On the west side of the Chocolate Mountains in San Diego County. 0.7 microquake also on the Elsinore Fault. And this is also 0.9 here. Interesting. Down here is Pine Valley, south of Julian. Still a fairly mountainous region. Pine trees, desert arid community there. A 0.8 microquake there. West of there, this is also in Pine Valley, the foothills of Pine Valley. An arid desert area in East San Diego County. 0.8 microquake there. Then I'm bringing you out here to Bombay Beach. Why am I bringing you here? Because USGS is showing a 0.8 microquake at Bombay Beach. A 0.8 microquake at Bombay Beach. Why are they just showing that? Inquiring minds want to know. Well, guess what? I've got some answers for you. I have got some answers for you. They're wrong. Look at this. This is a seismogram from Bombay Beach today. Nowhere on this seismogram are we showing a 0.8 microquake. Okay? Well, maybe kind of, sorta. What happens before we get to a large earthquake? Or shall I say a larger earthquake? Larger than a 0.8 microquake. Up here at 1700 yesterday, and that's where we're at yesterday, up here at the top, we're seeing some microquake activity. That microquake activity turns into tremor activity, 1.0 tremors. Look at all these earthquakes here today. Look at that. Look at all these earthquakes here. Okay? Look at all these earthquakes here. Now I'm showing you what has happened today. Only those earthquakes that have happened today. Yes, before a couple of these earthquakes, we may have had some microquakes. And we had tremors, didn't we? But folks, these are a lot larger than the microquakes that USGS said we had. And they said they had one microquake, a 0.8 microquake. How much worse are they? What we're seeing here are 3 earthquakes today. These are at least 3.0 earthquakes. This one in the blue, this is just after 12:30 this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? 12:37 a.m. Tremors started 3 minutes before that. And actually a lot longer than that. But I'm talking bigger tremors. Then all of a sudden we have 1.5 tremors leading up to a 2.0 earthquake, and then the earthquake turns into 2.9, 3.0. Okay? And it's not just one, it's several 3.0 earthquakes. Then again, just after 4 a.m., we have another good-sized earthquake. Yes, we had tremors before that. Okay? This is at 4, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 4:05 a.m. this morning. Another 3.0, 3.2 earthquake. And it lasted 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. And after it, we had another 60 seconds of secondary waves. And after the secondary waves got through, we had another 4 to 5 minutes of body waves. So folks, they may have cut off the top and the bottom of this quake. This may have been a lot larger than they're saying. Then, just before 5 a.m., just before 5 a.m. this morning, 4:57 a.m., we have some tremors, don't we? Then 2.0, 2.2 magnitude earthquakes, and then it looks like this may have been a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, maybe larger. Okay? Again, why is USGS telling us about a microquake when there were actual earthquakes today and yesterday? Why are they telling us about this lousy crap that they're talking about? Because they don't want anybody to know what really happened. That's a Salton Sea, guys. That's a Salton Sea. South of there we have a volcano. So we have earthquakes over on the eastern side of the lake, north of the volcano. Fascinating. I think it's very fascinating because they don't want anybody to know about it. I want to know why. I really want to know why. But what's very interesting about this, just south of the border, I just highlighted a city just south of the U.S. border from Imperial Valley, California. This is just barely on the south side of the border. This is Mexicali, Mexico. This is a 1.4 tremor. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. But again, what they're trying to show you is lies. There's a lot more tremors and earthquakes all over this area that they're not telling us about. And folks, this one, this is Ensenada, California. I have visited Ensenada many times throughout my life. Ensenada, California, in the city, over here in the eastern part of Ensenada. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake. A 2.7 minor earthquake. Not a big deal either. Okay? But why are they telling us about 2.7s when they can't even do that here in the United States? That's what I'm saying. They can't even tell us what's going on because they don't want us to know. Southwestern Texas. Rebecca Griffiths lives over in New Mexico, just north of all this. Swarms of earthquakes here. These are oil and gas related quakes. That's a 2.0. This is a 1.9, 2.0. This is a 2.3. This is a 2.0. Mentone, Texas. Mentone, Texas. Southeast of there, Toya, Texas, with a 1.9, 2.0. Oil and gas, folks. All of this is oil and gas. Okay? You can see it all over here. Everywhere where we have one of these plots, right here. This is oil and gas here. Pumps and jacks all over. Okay? All over. Pumps and jacks all over this area as well. If I could zoom in here, I could show you pumps and jacks right near this very earthquake. Why? Because seismic energy searches out drill points. Everywhere where we drill to either obtain steam from a volcano to power turbines, or we drill into the earth to pull up oil and gas. Every one of these drill points are man-made earthquake faults. That's what's actually happening here. And Texas is full of them. Yes, Texas is big. It's very big. And some people say Texas is full of themselves. I don't like to say that because I have a lot of good friends in Texas. And yes, everything is bigger in Texas. I love those people. Over here also in Midland, Texas, this is a 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. Look, folks, where all of the oil and gas plots are. Right next to this earthquake. Look at that. Literally right next to this earthquake. I can't get any closer than this to show you the pumps and jacks here, but I make one out very faintly here. A pump and jack. There's pumps and jacks at every one of these plots. All over. Where you see these pumps and jacks, there's going to be earthquakes. Almost always, whether they tell us about it or not. Okay? We go up here. Reno, Oklahoma. I wonder who. This is southwest of El Reno, Oklahoma. Guess what, guys? Oil and gas. Oil and gas. Just south of this earthquake. Oil and gas. You can see the plots here. Look there. Oil and gas, ladies and gentlemen. If a quake is within 6 to 10 miles of one of these plots, it's an oil and gas quake. Okay? And there's a lot of other tremors and earthquakes in Oklahoma. They're just not telling us about it. Now, I'm going over here into the New Madrid Fault area. I want to show you this. Okay? This earthquake is a 1.2 tremor near New Madrid, Missouri. They say it's 4 miles north-northwest of New Madrid, Missouri. Yes, New Madrid, Missouri is south of here. Okay? So yes, we do have an earthquake there. Okay? A 1.2 tremor. But folks, here's another situation. Let me show you another bunch of earthquakes and tremors at New Madrid, Missouri today. Look at this, guys. This looks like a lot more than a little tiny tremor. Yes, folks, here at New Madrid, Missouri, starting about 5 a.m. this morning, we had some tiny tremors, 1.0 tremors. We had some more after 5:30, and they continued after 6 o'clock this morning. Look at all these tremors all over here. After 8 a.m., about 8:10 a.m. this morning. Folks, that is a 1.2 tremor. Further over here on the left-hand side here. Okay? This is after 9:17 a.m. this morning. Actually, it started happening prior to that. There's one of your tremors, guys. You can see tremors all over here. USGS tells us about one lousy tremor. And yet here we see a lot of them, don't we? Why don't they truly tell us about what is going on? They never will. They never will. That's just this morning. Would you guys like to see this afternoon? I'm going to show you this afternoon, just for kicks and giggles. Look at the tremors hitting here. Some of them longer term. 1.1, 1.2 tremors lasting 5 minutes. Look at this tremor here. This tremor happened just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1:06 we had a 1.0 tremor started. Just about 60 seconds later, we now have a 1.3 tremor. Then shortly after that, a 1.4 tremor and a 1.5 tremor. A bunch of tremors here at New Madrid, Missouri. New Madrid, Missouri. Why are they not showing everything going on? They never will. They never will. How about Mark Tree, Arkansas? They didn't tell us hide nor hair anything about Mark Tree, Arkansas, did they? It's not even listed on the map. Look at the earthquakes. Not just tremors, ladies and gentlemen. These are full-blown earthquakes. More than 2.0. These are 3.0, 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes. 4.0 moderate earthquakes happening here in Arkansas, and nobody's telling anybody what is going on. Yes, they did get hit. Yes, there's people that are here that felt those earthquakes. Okay? USGS didn't say word one about them, did they? Not a freaking thing. I don't say all those expletives like I would love to. Oh yeah. I have things I would like to say about USBS. If they were honest with us, that would be one thing. But they can't be honest with us. They don't know what honesty is. Okay? New Madrid, Missouri got hit, and it was more than just a 1.2 tremor. I showed you that. And with earthquakes to the west of there, 3.0, 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes, there's no excuse for this malarkey. Yes, I'm quoting President Biden. He has said that word many times. Many times. Now, I live over in this area here, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I live over here in the foothills in Morganton, North Carolina. Would you believe we have had some tremors and microquakes here? Would you believe it if I told you we've had some 2.5 magnitude earthquakes here near me? They're not showing them, are they? Oh, heaven forbid. Heaven forbid they're showing us what happens. Okay? They're not going to do it. It's more than just people getting their feelings hurt. Okay? Let's go over here into the Atlantic. The Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction. We know that. What happened up here today? Can anybody venture a guess as what happened up here in the North Mid-Atlantic today. We had a 5.2 earthquake. But prior to that 5.2 earthquake, we had several other earthquakes hit. Okay? For example, this one hit at 11:51 this morning, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake. Interesting, huh? How about this earthquake? It was a 5.0 earthquake. This earthquake happened at 9:27 a.m. this morning. A 5.0 large foreshock. A foreshock of the 5.2. We go further south here. This earthquake hit at 11:13. 11:13. So folks, we had this earthquake here. 9:27 a.m. this morning. Then we had this one at 11:13 a.m. this morning. Then this one that hit at 11:51 a.m. a 4.4. So folks, we had this 5.0 here just before 9:30. Then we had this 5.1 hit after that. Yes, this is larger than the 5.0. So the 5.0 is actually a foreshock of this 5.1. But the 5.1 is also a foreshock of this earthquake here, the 5.2. Now this earthquake here happened at 5:48 p.m. this evening. Guess what? This is a 5.6. This is a 5.6. So every one of these earthquakes that have hit here prior to this were foreshocks of the 5.6. Three 5.0 large earthquakes happened before the 5.6 hit. At the center of the North Atlantic Ocean, the center of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This is a 5.6 magnitude earthquake. And I didn't even get to this one. This is also a foreshock, a 4.7 magnitude earthquake that happened at 3:11 this afternoon. So every one of these earthquakes was a foreshock of this 5.6. And all of this seismic energy is going to go north. It's going to follow the Mid-Atlantic Ridge all the way north up here. What do you think we're going to? Right up here. This is Iceland, guys. People live here. Almost 9,000 people here live here. Most of them live in Reykjavik, Iceland. These three 5.0 earthquakes and their aftershocks and foreshocks are going to come up here to Iceland, where the Mid-Atlantic Ridge divides Iceland in half. These people in Iceland are going to go for a ride in the next few days as this seismic energy moves north. Folks, we are going to see some earthquakes over here to the west in Canada. as a result of these large earthquakes on the mid-Atlantic ridge here. Okay? We're going to see plenty of earthquakes. Now, I'm going over here to Greece because USGS, in their infinite stupid wisdom, shows us one earthquake here in Europe, in southern Greece. Southwestern Greece, a 4.1 moderate earthquake, 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. One moderate earthquake. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of other 4s here as well as 2s and 3s and 1s, all over Greece. Probably close to 25 earthquakes here in Greece. Greece alone. We're not talking about Italy or France or Spain or Germany or Austria. How about Turkey? They're not showing one last earthquake here in Turkey and Syria. There are over 100 earthquakes right here. Right here. They're not showing any. They're saying that there's 229 earthquakes worldwide. So far, I've either shown you or told you about 500 or 600 other earthquakes that they are not saying anything about. Nothing. Because they don't feel they have to say anything. Sad but true. What do they call this ring around the Pacific Ocean? What do they call this ring around the Pacific Ocean? From the Aleutian Islands over to Alaska, and the Aleutian Islands over to Russia, and all the way down Japan and Taiwan, and all the way down here into the South Pacific. What do they call it? It's called the Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire is because they have a ton of volcanoes. A ton of volcanoes. Alaska alone has 161 volcanoes by its lonesome. Okay? Volcanoes making a ring around this whole Pacific Ocean, the Ring of Fire. Where you have the Ring of Fire with volcanoes, you also have subduction zones. That's the other reason we have volcanoes. Subduction zones. You can't have a volcano without a subduction zone. Okay? Demon Catman says, the Ring of Fire. Demon Catman, you win the prize! One of my favorite people in all the world. Demon Catman from east of England. Yay, Demon Catman! He got the correct answer. Okay, Richard Smith asked a question just a few minutes ago. Water currents increase in underwater earthquakes. Question mark. Why? Waves. Tide waves under the sea. Okay? When we have earthquakes, it jiggles the bottom of the ocean, doesn't it? All these earthquakes down underneath the Pacific Ocean, and they're not telling us about most of them. But they jiggle the water. Just like a vibration at my home. Just like I see water moving in my bottle here. Okay? Water moves in the ocean, whether it be the Pacific Basin, the Atlantic, whether it be in the Indian Ocean, or any other place like the Baltic Sea. If there's seismic energy there, which there is, that we don't get told about, what happens? the water moves. Plates move. As plates move, we have earthquakes. As earthquakes move, we have seismic waves. Seismic waves. When we have seismic waves, we have earth movement. Okay? You can't get one without the other. And that jiggles the earth. Earth movement moves the water. Okay? So yes, we have currents. Why do we have currents in the Gulf of Mexico leading into the Atlantic Ocean and pushing as far north as Norway, Denmark, Iceland? Why? Why? Because of the currents, guys. Earth movement. Earth movement. Volcanoes erupting underwater. Earth movement. Magma movement causes waves in the ocean. Wind causes waves in the ocean. Okay? So you get currents. We get currents all the time. Texas lady says, baseball-sized hail in Lubbock, Texas. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just waiting for a picture of it to put here. I showed you baseball-sized hail in Colorado a couple of days ago. They had a huge storm up there. I understand Reed Trimmer and his crew went up there, as well as some other storm chasers. Crazy. Go down, down, down into the burning ring of fire. I better not sing anymore. I'll get a copyright strike. We burn, burn, burn the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, does anybody have any more questions? I have tried to show you things that have happened tonight. I have also tried to answer questions. I'm trying to keep my eye on the chat room. I'm trying to keep my focus here to show you what's happening. Okay? I had a lot to talk about tonight. Any questions? Any questions? Rob52 says, tsunamis happen with earthquakes. They can happen. Not always. It takes at least a 6.5 very strong earthquake to generate a tsunami. But even a 6.5 earthquake does not necessarily cause a tsunami. Okay? Earth has to really move, up or down. When there's earth moving up or down, you're going to cause a tsunami. Okay? Because if the earth is moving down or up in any direction, what happens? Water from the shoreline has to go back out into the ocean to fill that hole at the ocean floor. Then, once that water reaches that hole, it's going to come back, right? Causing a tsunami. And it's not just one wave, it's multiple waves. It could be 2, it could be 30. We don't know. We may never know how many tsunami waves an earthquake can make. We don't know. We don't know. Okay? We don't know. It happens a lot. Renee Steppe says, Kilauea pause. It did. It did. It was shooting fountains of lava 300 feet into the air. That's a pretty impressive volcano. That's a pretty impressive volcano. Rob says, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that, Rob. Rob and I are very good friends, just like Don and many of the rest of you. You and I are all very close friends. B. Coles is not one trimmer on the West Coast. You want to bet? I spent last night showing you tremors all over the southern West Coast. USGS not saying a word about it. USBS not saying a word about it. I could spend all day long showing you seismograms up and down the entire West Coast from Western Canada all the way down to Mexico. There are tremors and earthquakes hitting all over. They just don't tell us about it. They just don't tell us about it. Any other questions, guys? In the very near future, I'm going to show you activity on my new iPad. Because I have paid my bills with my cell phone company, T-Mobile, guess what I got? I got a new iPad. Actually, it's not an iPad, it's an Android pad. Okay? I got this. That they wanted me to tell you about it too. That's one reason I'm telling you about it. Okay? T-Mobile gave that to me. I got lucky. So I'm going to be showing you information on my pad, on my tablet. It's a great tablet. Okay? I'm going to show it off and show you what's going on. Juanito says, sorry Ron and chat off topic here. May I please get prayers sent my way, for I won't be here Monday. We'll be having surgery. Absolutely, Juanito. We will pray for you. Okay? We will all pray for you, Juanito. We appreciate you. Juanito lives over there in the Imperial Valley. If I'm not mistaken, Juanito, you live over there in Westmoreland, I think. Yes, I think Juanito lives over there in Westmoreland. Juanito has been here with us for a very long time here. He's usually the first one here in the chat. I believe sometimes it's almost a fight. Oh, Juanito lives in El Centro. I'm sorry. Juanito lives over with those earthquakes in El Centro. Remember I showed you 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes in El Centro yesterday? Oh yeah, all over. Some people feel them. Rumble beneath their feet. Yes, Juanito, we will pray for you. I promise that. Okay? We love you, guy. Juanito and Demon Catman almost fight to who's going to be first into the chat. It's hilarious. I love it. So yes, we'll pray for you, Juanito. God bless you all. God bless you all. I love you all. Now, folks, Rob and I had a group today. A group of men over in Arizona that had a scriptural discussion. Okay? We had a scriptural discussion for about an hour. It was great. It was awesome. We talked about Paul and his letters to Timothy. A great discussion today. Tonight, I want to talk to you about some verses in Galatians here. And I'm going to talk about Galatians chapter 4, verses 23 through, oh gosh, where am I going to go here? Actually, verse 22 through verse 28. Okay? Galatians chapter 4, verses 22 through 28. For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise. By promise. Remember that. Okay? Verse 24. Which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants. The one from Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. For it is written, this is verse 27, for it is written, rejoice, thou barren that bearest not, break forth and cry, thou that travailest not, for the desolate hath many more children than she which hath an husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of promise. The children of promise are those people, those men and women and families that decided they were going to follow God, the children of Israel. The bondwoman that they spoke of was someone that was not a child of Israel. She was not of the covenant of God. She was not under the covenant. Why do I keep bringing up covenants? The children of Israel at Mount Sinai, when Moses came down from the mountain carrying the tablets, he told the children of Israel what writing was on the tablets. At that time, the children of Israel made covenants with the Lord, didn't they? That they would obey the Lord's commandments. Those people that did not obey the Lord's commandments lost promise. They lost their promise with the Lord, that the Lord would bless them. If we obey the commandments, we are the children of promise. We are the children of promise. The Lord asks us to keep a commandment, then He blesses us for having done so. We make a covenant with the Lord to obey His commandments, and He blesses us if we live according to the word from the Lord. Think about this. We've talked a lot about covenants in the past. A covenant is nothing more than a promise. Are we willing to promise the Lord that we are going to follow Him and be blessed? I hope so. I hope so. Folks, I appreciate you being here. It's Friday night. At 12 noon, I declared it the weekend. I declared it the weekend. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's the weekend. I hope you guys go out and have a good time. Not go out necessarily and party hardy, but have a good time this weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Clean your houses tomorrow. Tonight and tomorrow. But still provide yourselves time to have a good time and do things together with your family and those friends and relatives that you have. Enjoy yourselves. I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay? A wonderful day this weekend. We will be back here Sunday at noon for a program that we've called Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. Come follow me, the Savior said. It's a Sunday school class that we have been teaching for a very long time now. Okay? It's based on the scripture in Luke. Luke chapter 18, verse 22. Now when Jesus heard these things, he said unto him, Yet lackest thou one thing, sell all that thou hast, and distribute unto the poor, and thou shalt have treasures in heaven, and come follow me. That's where we get the title to our Sunday school lessons. Come follow me, the Savior said. So this coming Sunday at 12 noon, like we've been doing, will be Come Follow Me Sunday school class. We're going to be talking about parables. We're going to be talking about covenants and promises. Covenants and promises. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I appreciate all of our mods that are here. God bless you all. I love you all immensely. I really do. You guys are why I do these programs, to give you the information you need to make decisions for your own lives, on how you're going to lead your lives, to get through whatever disaster that comes up. Because every one of these disasters will affect us in some way or some form. That's why we talk about it. We talk about preparedness. Now, I was going to talk specifically about a talk about preparedness tonight. I may be coming on the air with a special broadcast that might not last any more than an hour, maybe less, because I want this to be known to all of you on how to protect yourselves. Think about this until we come again. What would you do if someone came into your home uninvited? Think about that question. What would you do if someone came into your home uninvited? We will be talking about this very shortly. Have a good night, folks. We love you very much. I ask the Lord to bless you. As Walter Cronkite has said, and that's the way it is. Friday, June 23rd, 2023. For Emergency Management Associates, this is Ron Tyler. Have a good evening, folks. We'll be back on Sunday with Come Follow Me, the Savior said. If anything happens between now and then that is very important, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, take it easy, guys. God bless you and God be with you until we meet again. Good night, everybody. I love you. See you soon.